Imagine this. Mountains of tires stacked in the desert, so massive they can be seen from space. Years of accumulated waste. A colossal environmental problem. But what if I told you that each of those tires is actually a sleeping barrel of oil, waiting to be released? Each one contains enough energy to be turned into fuel. This is not theory or an isolated experiment. It is a real, proven, and profitable process that is already transforming tires into oil, gas, and reusable materials. Today you will discover the technology that is turning a billion-ton problem into something valuable and profitable once again. And more than a technological breakthrough, it is a doorway into the circular economy. Taking one of the most problematic wastes of the modern era and transforming it into resources that power entire industries. Today we are going to discover how something once destined to pollute for centuries can become the fuel of the future. Every year the planet faces a monumental problem. 1.5 billion discarded tires. Yes, you heard that right. Enough to circle the Earth about 24 times. And while they might look harmless, their environmental impact is massive. When piled up outdoors, they release heavy metals and toxic compounds. If even a single storage site catches fire, the flames are almost impossible to extinguish and the smoke can spread for miles. When it rains, those contaminants seep into the ground and groundwater, poisoning the environment for decades. The tire is one of the most important inventions in modern transportation, but also one of the most difficult wastes to manage. Its blend of rubber, steel, and chemical additives makes it extremely durable. And that same durability that once gave us safety on the roads turns into an environmental nightmare when a tire reaches the end of its life. Traditionally, many nations dealt with the problem in questionable ways. Some buried tires, others dumped them into the ocean, and some even burned them in the open air. These practices not only polluted the environment, but also increased public health risks. It seemed there was no solution until an innovation emerged that completely changed the outlook. A technology that sounds like science fiction. Using fire to create energy, but without flames, without oxygen, and under total control. It is called pyrolysis. And it is not magic, it is science. The process consists of heating the tires to about 500 or 550 degrees Celsius in an oxygen-free environment. Without oxygen, there is no combustion, only decomposition. The rubber breaks down into its basic components and releases three key products: oil, carbon black, and combustible gas. Tire oil is a type of crude that, once refined, becomes a raw material for fuels and the chemical industry. Carbon black is a fine powder that can be reused in the production of rubber, plastics, and even inks. Combustible gas has enough energy to power the very plant that performs the process, creating an almost self-sustaining cycle. The result is the transformation of waste into resources, closing a loop that once seemed impossible. To understand the power of this technology, imagine this. 10 kilograms of tires produce between 4 and 4.5 kilograms of oil. In other words, nearly half of every tire is turned into a usable energy product. A medium-sized production line can process around 20,000 tires per year. That is equivalent to giving a new purpose to the tires of tens of thousands of cars. On an industrial scale, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of tons that no longer pollute and instead become raw materials for other industries. What was once worth only a few cents as scrap is now multiplied in value. A used tire can have a nominal value close to zero, sometimes less than $100 per ton. In contrast, pyrolysis oil is sold in a range of $500 to $650 per ton. That difference not only makes the process profitable but also turns a worthless waste into a competitive energy product. In India, for example, a startup called Green Rubber Recycling has managed to convert more than 200,000 discarded tires into over 8,000 tons of oil in just a few years. In addition to generating revenue, it has created around 150 direct jobs in the region. Stories like this show that the impact is not only environmental and economic, but also social. Each pyrolysis plant becomes a source of local employment and a pillar of the so-called green industry. But why was it not done before? The answer lies in the complexity of the process. Handling flammable vapors and high temperatures requires precision engineering. One mistake, and everything becomes a risk. This is where innovation comes in. Today, modern equipment includes pressure sensors, automatic cooling systems, and real-time digital monitoring. Some designs even allow the gas generated during pyrolysis to power the boiler itself, reducing the need for external energy almost to zero. In other words, the tire is recycled using its own energy. The world needs this kind of solution because tires do not disappear. In the United States alone, about 290 million are discarded every year. In Europe, the number exceeds 300 million. And in Asia, with rapid motorization, the problem is even greater. If every tire that pollutes today could be converted into fuel, the savings in raw materials and the reduction in pollution would be enormous. It would also reduce dependence on virgin fossil fuels and open new opportunities for green business. Of course, it is not that simple. Pyrolysis has its challenges. The oil obtained requires further refining before it can be used on a large scale. The carbon black must go through purification processes to reach high-quality standards. And the initial investment in industrial equipment remains high. However, the projections are clear. With improvements in efficiency and economies of scale, this technology is not only viable but could become a cornerstone of the circular economy of the future. Think of every tire as a sleeping battery. A battery that holds energy trapped within its chemical structure. Pyrolysis is, in essence, the key that unlocks that energy, transforming what was once waste into resources ready to re-enter the wheel of the economy. A few years ago in Kuwait, more than 50 million used tires were stored in the middle of the desert. The site was so massive that it could be seen from satellites. The risk was enormous: spontaneous fires, air and soil pollution, and maintenance costs in the millions. That scenario shows why pyrolysis is not just an interesting option, but an urgent necessity. Every abandoned tire is a ticking problem that will eventually come due. For more than a century, tires have been the literal foundation of human progress. They have taken us everywhere, from family cars to airplanes, but they have also left us with a massive environmental debt. Today, thanks to innovation, we have a way to turn that debt into an asset. From waste to energy, from discarded material to valuable resource. So the next time you see a pile of abandoned tires, do not see a problem. See a potential refinery, a mine of energy waiting to be released. Now I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think this technology should be expanded globally? What other types of waste would you like to see science turn into energy? Leave your answer in the comments. Subscribe to Creators Club and join us on this journey where we explore how innovation transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Because the future is not only about inventing new things, it is also about learning to give a second life to what we once thought was useless.